I'm VJ Hamilton and welcome to the Autoimmune Reset, the place for you to learn how to thrive with autoimmune disease and feel empowered to take steps to transform your health to feel better than ever. You can start making changes today to improve your health. So with every episode, my mission is to share with you simple ways to up-level your diet and lifestyle with key learnings from my own journey reversing autoimmune disease and inspirational stories from those who have reset their autoimmune symptoms and are now thriving in life. I suffered from autoimmune disease for over 25 years and now I live symptom-free, and I wish the same for you as well. So thank you for being here and sharing this time with me. Now let's get started. Hello and welcome back to this Friday 5 episode of the Autoimmune Reset podcast. I'm your host, VJ Hamilton. I'm a nutritionist, scientist, and expert in autoimmune disease. And today I want to talk about how to stop headaches naturally and thinking about this from a root cause perspective rather than just focusing on pain relief. Because headaches are one of the most common symptoms that I see in clinic, and I have experienced headaches and migraines myself. I find it one of the worst symptoms to have. When you have a headache or a migraine, it's really hard to think straight, and you might have been told to just drink more water and lie down. But when you've had a headache, you know that is really not enough. And headaches are so misunderstood. They're often normalized, can be brushed off. People are just living with them on a daily basis. And the thing that I want you to know is that headaches are rarely random. They're signals, and when you understand what system is involved, they're often surprisingly responsive. And I have been doing this as a trial and error on my body for many, many years, and my headaches are so much better than they used to be. I do get the occasional headache. I will sometimes eat chili, which I'm not meant to eat, and I sometimes wake up with a bit of a groggy headache, or if I'm ill, I might get a headache. And as I said, it's the worst symptom. So there are things that you can do and things that you can think about if you are experiencing headaches. And that's what I'm going to talk you through today. 5 root cause ways to reverse headaches using the strategies that I use with clients in clinic. And as I mentioned, ones I've used myself as well. So first is thinking about blood sugar, even if you think you've eaten. And I want to start here because this one is huge and it's missed all the time, and one of the most reliable headache triggers I see is a drop in blood sugar. We often think that we're going to feel fatigued, tired, but that is not always the case, and it doesn't always come with that shaky or dizziness that we think about when we talk about drops in blood sugar. And for most people, it can show up as a dull ache, pressure behind the eyes, or a tightening sensation across the head. And as I said, I've experienced this myself years ago when I was experimenting with fasting and doing it a bit too aggressively for my body. I'd get these very low-grade headaches that I kept trying to push through, and I just told myself it was detox or a caffeine withdrawal, and it was just part of the process. But then I noticed something interesting. The headache would lift sometimes quite quickly when I ate protein, and there wasn't any sugar, there wasn't any fruit, but it was protein that helped. And I think sometimes sugar can help, but then you might have a crash again and it could make things worse. And that was the clue for me. And what was happening was my blood sugar was crashing when I was fasting for so long. I was putting a lot of stress on my body. I was releasing a lot of cortisol, and then my glucose would drop. And the brain doesn't get that steady fuel that it needs. And stress hormones like adrenaline can rise as well. That shift alone can trigger a headache, and protein stabilizes blood sugar by slowing down glucose release and supporting neurotransmitter balance. And that's why it works, and why coffee or a sweet snack might give you that temporary relief, but often makes things worse later. So if you have a headache, especially mid-morning or mid-afternoon, then try this first. eat something protein-based like eggs or leftover meat or fish, or a proper snack that actually includes protein rather than a bite. Then wait 15 to 20 minutes and see if your headache lifts. And it might be that your headache was related to your blood sugar. And you can now as well with a continuous glucose monitor. And that again might give you a sign of whether it is to do with blood sugar and if that is the cause of your headaches. The next is that mineral matters just as much as hydration. We know that dehydration can cause headaches, but the next piece is minerals. And this is one that surprises people because so many of my headache-prone clients come to me. They will say, well, I drink loads of water, so I don't understand why I'm getting the headaches. They might be drinking actually too much water because headaches are very commonly driven by electrolyte imbalance, not dehydration. So electrolytes like sodium, magnesium, and potassium are essential for nerve signaling and vascular tone and muscle relaxation, including the muscles in the neck and scalp. And if you're stressed, if you're sweating, if you're over-exercising, or if you're just exercising, to be honest, or fasting, or eating very clean that doesn't have a lot of salt in your diet, your minerals may need to go up. And if cortisol is low, which I see a lot in my clients who have chronic stress or autoimmune disease, the body struggles to hold on to sodium, and this alone can trigger that head pressure and fatigue that you get with a headache. And this is why adding minerals can work when painkillers don't. And you can take electrolytes. I really like the Body Bio E-Lite, and I can put the link to that in the show notes if you want to give that a try. But just having electrolytes can really make sure that you are keeping your mineral levels optimal. And sometimes all that is needed is water with a good pinch of Himalayan pink salt, or you can add some electrolytes and sometimes even magnesium, which you can take orally or topically, and that can make a difference as well. And I've seen headaches resolve under about half an hour. I take some magnesium, go for a little bit of a rest, and the headache clears as a result of that. And it also gives you information about what might be causing it. Now let's talk about the nervous system, because headaches are very often to do with the nervous system. You don't need to be consciously stressed to have a stress-driven headache. And many headaches happen when the body has been on for too long, when you're on the go, when you're always thinking, when you're in front of a screen, and then finally starts to come down. And I see this with people who hold everything together during the day. They're just constantly on the go, and they get home on an evening or at the weekend, they have that relief, and that's when the headache starts. And this is where your nervous system regulation becomes incredibly powerful. And that is why something like a NeuroSim device, which is what I use, and it can help with vagal tone and helping to improve your vagus nerve, can make such a difference. And you can do deep breathing exercises to help with that. Humming. I know when I have a headache, actually humming really helps. But I have found using my NeuroSim has been really good if I feel that there might be a headache about to start, or if my head doesn't feel as clear as normal, and that just is going to help to regulate the nervous system. You can also use binaural beats. You can just put in some earphones and put those on, and there are actually frequencies that you can use for migraines in particular that can be helpful too, so give that a try. And we know the vagus nerve plays a central role in regulating blood flow. There's been a lot of studies around how it can impact inflammation and our pain perception. And when vagal tone improves, the nervous system shifts out of that fight or flight, and headaches that are driven by tension or vascular dysregulation often ease. And I've seen this in clinic, and I've experienced it personally, in supporting the nervous system directly rather than trying to think your way out of stress. Changes the baseline the body is operating from. So even simple things like long exhales, humming, and gentle neck movement can help to start this process. And I remember a friend of mine had a headache, and I just said, just try some deep breathing. And I remember him saying back to me, I don't know why I haven't thought about doing this before, because he did find that the headache was easing as he was breathing more deeply and doing more belly breathing. And I think when you're in pain, you are more likely to shallow breathe as well. So it's just one to be thinking about. Another root cause that I want to talk about is histamine. Histamine can be a little bit more complex, and I could do a whole episode on histamine and headaches. But histamine-related headaches often feel very heavy, sinus-based, or hormonal. So if you're getting a headache and your sinuses are blocked, then it might be histamine. And they're common around ovulation or before your period, and they often show up after having wine or leftovers or fermented foods. And histamine clearance relies on the liver, the gut, and specific nutrients, including B vitamins and vitamin C. So if you're depleted in them, then you might not be clearing histamine as well as you should be, and that might be contributing to a histamine type headache. So if those systems are overloaded or under-resourced, then histamine builds up and that headache can follow. And this is why some people find their headaches improve when they support bile flow, like having an artichoke leaf tea, having bitter foods, reducing alcohol, and really cleaning up their gut health, even if they never thought their headaches were anything to do with the digestion. And again, the headache is the signal, it's not the actual problem. And lastly, it's all about restoring flow, and that links to your circulation, because so many headaches come down to restricted flow, especially to the head and neck. And you can get these little neck supports that you can lie on, and it can really open up the back of the neck, because when you think about your neck being long, that's when your chin is down, your shoulders are back. I learned a lot about this when I was training to be a Pilates instructor, and we need that length at the back of the neck to help with blood flow. And when we are spending long hours at screens, we're shallow breathing, we're jaw clenching, and we have postural tension, then the oxygen delivery is reduced and our lymphatic movement becomes sluggish. And the result becomes pressure, heaviness, and pain in the head. And that is why lying down doesn't always help. It's better to have that gentle movement. If you are aware of these neck supports that you can get, they can be helpful as well when you're lying down, so you're not restricting the blood flow. But gentle movement can be great as well. Warmth, massaging the area, and simply getting outside and walking can bring a lot of relief. And I've found that when I've thought that a headache might be coming on, I've gone out, especially when it's cold, and just feel so much better. I think it's part of the movement, it's part of the cold. It can really help to relieve those types of headaches. So have a think about all these different strategies to helping with headaches if you are experiencing headaches, and give it a try. That's sometimes the best way to find out why you might be experiencing headaches. And just be aware that headaches are not random. When we get a headache, it is a message from the body that there is something amiss. Is it that you don't have enough nutrients? Is there some imbalance with minerals? Does your nervous system feel overloaded at the moment? Is it your detox capacity or related to circulation? And perhaps think about any other symptoms that could relate to that as well. And when you respond to that right system, rather than just doing what everybody else is doing, then you often find relief. And next time a headache starts, instead of just reaching straight for those painkillers, pause and ask, what does your body actually need right now? And if headaches are frequent or persistent or escalating, then that's when deeper root cause work becomes absolutely essential. And obviously, if you are getting headaches and it is a new symptom, please speak to your doctor about it, because any new symptom should be discussed with your doctor just to rule out anything else. If you have any questions about this, feel free to pop over to my Instagram account, which is at the Autoimmunity Nutritionist. You can also download my free guide, the Autoimmunity Recovery Plan, if you'd like to get started in making changes to your health today. There are some easy ways to improve your health in that recovery plan, not just focused on nutrition, but also some lifestyle practices that can really support you in making changes for your health. If not, have a fantastic weekend, and I'll speak to you soon. Thank you very much for joining me today on the Autoimmune Reset. I really hope you enjoyed the discussion, and be sure to subscribe to the podcast so that you never miss an episode. And if you liked it, I would hugely appreciate a review on iTunes, as it helps me understand what you like about the podcast and to help share the information with more people. I'm excited to speak to you next time. And remember, you have the power to take the reins on your health. So keep the faith and celebrate the small wins. Until next time.